Tonight I watched the pilot of the famous show Cheers. So it's essentially about the lives of people in this bar. Sam's a former pitcher, and Diane is a waitress who gets left by her husband in the first episode. So, yeah, spoiler alert, but it's the pilot. Anyways, there's such a human quality to Cheers. You can see, even though it takes place in the 80s, and the technology and how we view people has obviously changed, but there's still this very human quality at the center of it that the theme song is Where Everybody Knows Your Name is considered the greatest theme song of all time, and I do agree with that 100%. Just because it's this, you get from the theme song that there's a longing for this familiar place, and at least a generation ago, the most common place was the bar. You know, if you're down and out, you're looking for a central place to go, you're there all the time so everybody knows you, and you get its own little community setting. I get this need for a community, and for a lot of people that's the bar. I feel like, the cliche of the bartender listening to all your problems and solving them, I feel like nowadays that's the Uber driver or the Lyft driver. You could probably do a web series about that. But for a lot of these shows, the bar, that was the place to go. So I like the setup. I do find it fun to see, okay, well, what was this world like? I obviously have not seen the 80s, so it's interesting to me to see, people will call on a landline and ask for somebody. There's really good jokes in it, like, call, who's not here? And half the bar raises their hand. And you get, the characters are all very, very flawed people, very rough around the edges, but that's to be expected from that kind of a world. And then you get Diane, the outsider. She's this presumably snobby, upper-class woman, and doesn't care for bar culture, doesn't really care for talking about movies where people sweat the most. By the way, I totally agree with the guy who said Rocky 2. Yes, that. Though I'm thinking, maybe 300. No. Anyways, because they're the guys at the bar were getting into this discussion about which movie has the most sweat in it. Who's sweating the most in these movies? Diane just finds it disgusting, doesn't want to talk about it. But it's a very good contrast with that particular world. They play off each other very, very well. You can see she's not liked, understandably, but she finds her way there anyway. She's just as lonely and depressed and struggling as everybody else, which I find a lot of shows do that need for a community. And yeah, you may act above it for one way or another, but you're still in that same place. And Community's done that. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend does that. How I Met Your Mother does that. And I like shows like Scrubs is another one that's like that. I like shows like that. I think a lot of people do. And it's all the fun of it's the details that really make it unique and stand out and fresh. Yeah, dry air anyways. There's always, it's fun to see the classics. I am excited to see more of the show. I think it's one of those shows I could watch while eating dinner, because I know there's going to be that familiarity to it, and there's going to be this humanity. I'm curious to see, with a lot of these shows, you don't always get resolution. I do like that about modern storytelling, that there is serialization and there is a need for things to come to a conclusion. But for the longest time, not as much. So I'm not expecting much of a continuous storyline, but I am expecting to like these characters and like this world and see this community and see how they make light of this tough world. So, cheers. Cheers.